Bow ties are kind of in these days. Boy bands, rappers, and NBA stars are tying them on. One estimate puts bow ties at 7% of the $850 million U.S. neckwear market. That was last year and up from just 4% a year ago. And that's a good thing for two guys who were already living the dream before they got the bright idea to try their hands at selling bow ties.
This is the tricky part.
Bow ties are, well, bow ties are a little bit different. If you think tying one is difficult,
And we're good.
imagine what it's like trying to sell them. That's what the Daves, Dave Kramer and Dave Mutter, started doing in the fall of 2012.
Our customers are distinct.
Their sartorial stamps of distinction are handmade, hardly the norm.
It's kind of a non-traditional. That's exactly who we are as a brand.
Being non-traditional makes Beau, B-E-A-U, Bow Ties Limited of Vermont, a fit in Middlebury, perhaps best known for its liberal arts college and the poet Robert Frost, the guy who wrote about choosing the road less traveled.
We were bow tie wearers.
The Daves met in business school in the 1980s, following a more traditional path from there. One a New York investment banker, the other a California management consultant. They stayed in touch over the years, keeping in mind the talks they'd had about maybe one day going into business together.
We wanted to see whether or not we had what it took to run a small business.
I miss you. I miss you too. And listen.
Deb Venman founded Bow Ties with her late husband, Bill Kennerson, back in the early 1990s. By the early 2000s, they were looking to sell the company, but they'd never found quite the right buyer. And when the Daves came calling, Kennerson and Venman's broker thought they wouldn't be the right ones to tie the knot with either.
It was a flat-out no, and we had to sell ourselves to the broker, and then we had to sell ourselves to Bill and Deb.
Bill Kennerson started selling bow ties out of his house in 1993. Sales of roughly 3,500 ties in year one grew to more than 40,000, and Kennerson, who'd worked with the county's Economic Development Council, was putting people to work.
It was very, very important to us that whoever bought this building intended to keep it in Vermont.
I think a lot of other potential people would have not done that.
The Daves are adding value through website tweaks and marketing tacks.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Bow Ties Limited of Vermont.
But customer service remains a hallmark. Got an old tie you'd like to convert to a bow tie? They'll do it. Precision cutting and stitching are still the main draw. They've got stripes, plaids, and the company logo, polka dots. Typical price, $40 to $60.
And this is a classic tie that you would have seen Churchill wear.
They've also got creations like the Mad Scientist. They make cummerbunds, shirts, and yes, long neckties too. But bow ties account for 85% of the business, and business is up.
Well north of 50,000 ties are going to process through this room.
December sales were up 55% year over year. Bill Kennerson's baby, it seems, is in good hands.
He looked at us and said, gosh, I wish I could be you. When he never realized, we looked at him and said, we wish we were you. He built this great American business. He did it his way, and I think that's why it worked.
Can't tie one for the life of me. One of the lessons of this little case study is that sometimes you don't have to start a business out of whole cloth, as it were. Often the path to entrepreneurial success starts by buying an existing company, tweaking it, and making it grow. That's what the Daves say they've done with Bow Ties Limited. They call their changes evolutionary, not revolutionary.